So he says, Pashyame Yogam Aishwaryam, just see my mystic opulence. That although I am containing everything within me, I appear to be one among you. And only when, like Yashoda, you look into him, that you can see the entire creation and entire universe. This is the mystic opulence of Krishna. This is the mystic opulence of his body, which is not like ours. In fact, our bodies grow old, they age and they die. But Krishna's body is not like that. In fact, it has been said that Krishna is eternally youthful. Now Yavanam cha. That although he is the oldest person, Purana Purusham, now Yavanam cha. That he is the oldest person, yet he appears the youngest. Sometimes in the West, when people are asked to, an artist is asked to portray God, they show a very old man sitting in the clouds with a long white beard, because imagine that since God is the oldest person, he must also look very old. But in actual fact, because God's body is not like ours, he doesn't age like us. So you can see here that although Krishna is the oldest person, is eternally youthful. For example, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Krishna was 120 years old, yet his form was that of a 16-year-old boy. In fact, his appearance is not like ours. Therefore, it has been said that Janma Karma Chame Divyam Evam Yo Veti Tatvata Tyaktva Deham Punar Janma Naiti Mameti So Arjuna. That if you understand the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities, then on leaving this body, you do not have to appear again. Here you see that Krishna's appearance is announced from the sky when his parents are being married. And his uncle wants to kill his mother because he is afraid that Krishna will come and destroy him. And when Krishna is born, he is not born like you and me. He appears before his parents in the form of a four-handed Vishnu. And when he appears in the form of a four-handed Vishnu, his parents are so awestruck and so wonderstruck that they cannot treat him like a normal child. And they request him to take a more suitable form so that they can relish their pastimes and association with him. So this four-handed Vishnu, he takes the form of Krishna. So you see, his birth is not like yours and mine. He appears as four-handed Vishnu and then takes the form of Lord Krishna. He is not somebody who meditates and becomes God. Even as an infant, he sucks the life out of the witch Putana and destroys and kills her. In fact, Krishna's glories will occupy so much time that if we start talking about them, we can talk about for at least a minimum of 7 days on this topic alone. But in fact, we should understand that Krishna is Bhagwan. So what is the meaning of Bhagwan? So Bhagwan means Aishwarasya Samagrasya Viryasya Yashasya Shriya Jnana Vairagyasteva Sannam Bhaga Itingana. That means Bhagwan means one who is full in the 6 opulences. He is the most beautiful. So here you have, for example, in beauty, Krishna, the word Krishna means one who is all attractive. And Krishna is so attractive that he attracts everybody to him. Nobody who's come in touch with Krishna will declare that he is unattractive. Everybody is attracted to Krishna in some way or the other. Whether human being or animal or plant or all creation is attracted to God because he is the source of all attractiveness. Sometimes people imagine that, oh, Krishna is dark in color, so how can he be beautiful? Because we have this complex that something that is dark is not beautiful. In fact, some people also say black is beautiful. I remember when Srila Prabhupada started this movement in the West, an American of African descent came to him and said that, oh, Prabhupada, I believe that Krishna is black. Is that right? Being very proud of being black himself. So Prabhupada looked at him and said, yes, Krishna is black, but he is not black like you. Because the color of Krishna is not a material color. It's a spiritual and it's a transcendental color. In fact, his color is that of a rain cloud as described in the scriptures. And here we see that although Balram is fair, his beauty cannot be compared to Lord Krishna because Krishna's color is such that it attracts the attention of practically everybody. He is also the richest person. You must be wondering who's the richest person in India. No, it's not Mithun Chakravarti, nor is it any of the highest taxpayers in India. Of course, anyway, you know that the taxpayers aren't the rich ones, they're the people who get caught. But otherwise also the richest person in India is this person. He is the Lord of the universe, represented in Tirumalai as Lord Venkateshwara. He is the richest person and he earns more in one day than most Indians make in their lifetime. In fact, when I went to Tirumalai, we saw that his turban itself was worth 60 crores, full of diamonds. And every item of jewelry that he has on him is worth hundreds and hundreds of rupees, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of rupees. So the most rich person is God, because God possesses everything. And not only does God possess everything, but when He incarnates in this world, even in the form of a murti, when Lord incarnates in the form of a murti, this is known as Archa Vigraha, or the incarnation of God in the form of a murti, He actually becomes the source of all wealth. So people come to give Him wealth, and they also get wealth in return from Him. These are the murtis at New Vrindavan, where my Guru Srila Kirtananand Swami Bhaktipad lives. That's his ashram. And Sri Sri Radha Vrindavan Chandra are also the most opulent deities in the Western world. They are the richest people in the Western world because they are served with so much care and devotion, and so much wealth and so much effort is spent on them, that you can see that whenever Krishna incarnates in his form as the Archa Vigraha, he also manifests his opulence of wealth. Krishna is also the source of all strength. We see here Lord Krishna and Balram, even as children, they picked up the donkey Daman Dhenukasur and the other donkeys, and they picked them up by their legs and flung them into palm trees. This was their strength even as children. So they displayed their opulence of strength. And Krishna, he pulled the elephant Kuvalya Pida simply by pulling it by its tail. He dragged it just like a cat will drag a rat, by holding onto the tail of the elephant and dragging it. But in case you think that you are so strong, then try to beat this. Krishna picked up Govardhan hill on his little finger. As I pointed out, the activities of avatar are activities which cannot be imitated. So if you think you can imitate some of these activities, if you still think you can imitate some of these activities, then just try to imitate this activity. Because Krishna lifted up the whole Govardhan hill on his little finger of his left hand. So this is a manifestation of strength. It's a supernormal activity to demonstrate his opulence of strength as an avatar. He is also the most famous because Krishna is worshipped all over the world as God. Nowhere else will you find so many temples of any other God as you will find of Lord Krishna, and in the most remote places in the world. So he is also the most famous. And he is also the most knowledgeable, because even those who deny that Krishna is God, who cannot accept that Krishna is God, all of them accept that the Bhagavad Gita contains knowledge which cannot be matched in any scripture or any philosophy that has been revealed up to this point of time in human history. So Krishna is also the source of all knowledge. He is the source also of all renunciation. Because we find that people are willing to give up everything. They are willing to renounce the world. They are willing to give up their wealth, their wife, their family, their children. But even a man who has renounced the world, even a sannyasi who has renounced the world, holds on to his good name. He wants to hold on to his reputation. But Krishna is not afraid of that. Krishna is willing to even give up his good name. And although Krishna has given the promise that he will not lift up a weapon to participate in the battle of Kurukshetra, when his friend and devotee Arjuna is threatened and is near death by being attacked by Bhishma Dev, Krishna breaks his promise, he breaks his word, and he picks up this chariot wheel and goes to fight. Although Arjuna requests him, let me die, but let your reputation remain. Krishna says, I don't care for my reputation. I have renounced my reputation because of my love for you. So in fact, that is the unique characteristic of Krishna. That although he is master of the world, he actually becomes servant of his devotee. That the supreme master of the universe, he takes the humble position of a charioteer simply because Arjuna, who is his friend and devotee, he is his greatest devotee, and Krishna wants to serve Arjuna. In fact, Krishna sees that he makes available himself in different forms for different pastimes of his devotees. So these activities are known as rasas. That is, he has different relationships with different people according to their propensities to have relationships with him. For example, you have the first beginning of devotional life. So in the beginning of devotional life, you have what is known as the Shantaras. In the Shantaras, what happens? You are attracted to God. You are able to recognize who is God. You are able to appreciate His glory. But yet, you are in such a stunned and peaceful mood that you are not able to perform any active service to God. You are not able to have an active relationship with God. So the Shantaras is seen in this picture in the form of the animals, the calf, the bird, the deer, and the swan, who have a relationship with Krishna, but it's not an active relationship, it's a passive worship of God. This is another example of Shantaras. Here we have an example of Dasyaras. Dasyaras means working for God as His servant. And here we see Jai and Vijay, who are working for God in the form of servants of God. And they are working as servants of God, guarding the doors to God's kingdom, which is known as Vaikuntha. And at the gates of Vaikuntha, they are preventing the entry of these four Kaumara brothers. Of course, more intimate than the relationship of servant is the relationship of a friend, which is known as Sakhyaras. So here we see the cowherd boys having a relationship with Krishna, which is a relationship of friendship. And of course, this is a more intimate relationship where they can actually serve Him at the same time be intimate with Him. And they can play with Him and they can enjoy with Him. And in this way, they can associate with God in an atmosphere of friendship and love. They can participate with Him in unique adventures. As here He subdues the great snake Kalya, or He kills the bird Bakasur, or He kills the snake demon Agasur. But more intimate than the relationship of a friend is the relationship between the mother and the child, or the father and the child. And this is known as Vatsalya Ras. And in this Vatsalya Ras, there is an intimacy which goes beyond the intimacy of friendship, because it's an intimacy of mother and child, or father and son, has an additional protective element, an additional feeling of responsibility. And here you see that she takes great pleasure in looking after him, protecting him and feeding him. And in this way he allows her to indulge in a propensity of this Vatsalya Ras by acting as her son. And Krishna, He enacts unique pastimes for her, like the stealing of the butter, and hiding from the mother, and allowing Himself to be chased by the mother. And in fact, the Lord and Master of the universe, who cannot be achieved even by great mystic yogis and great sannyasis, allows Himself to be caught out of love for the mother. And one who cannot be obtained by years, thousands of years of penance, He allows Himself to be tied by ropes by His mother, simply because of the love that His mother has for Him. This is the unique nature of God, that He appears as avatar to give adequate opportunity for every devotee to participate in a relationship with Him according to their propensities. But of course, far more intimate and far more loving and far more intense is the relationship that occurs between man and woman. And in fact, it has been said that all of us are spiritually feminine because we are all Prakriti, and the Lord is the only male who is Purush. And here we see the intense and loving devotion of Radharani for Lord Krishna. And this relationship, which is known as the Madhurya Ras, or the conjugal relationship, is a relationship of great intimacy. And actually, when Ram appeared in the previous incarnation, he was approached by different rishis who wanted to have an intimate relationship with him. But Ram revealed to them that in this appearance or in this incarnation, he would not be able to have any further relationship with anybody else. So he revealed that when he came down in his original form as Lord Krishna, he would make himself available to have an intense loving relationship with those who are really great devotees of his. And therefore, when Krishna appears, Krishna makes himself available to the gopis in Vrindavan, but the gopis in Vrindavan are not ordinary people. Many of them are known as Rishi Gopis. They are known as Rishi Gopis because it is these Rishis who have incarnated again in a feminine form simply so that they can have a relationship with Lord Krishna. But unfortunately, this relationship between the gopis and Lord Krishna is much misunderstood. Sometimes people feel that it's a sexual relationship that is there between Lord Krishna and the gopis. But in actual fact, there is no sexual relationship at all, because sex life exists only in the material world. Sex life only exists in a material sphere. It does not exist on the spiritual platform at all. In fact, the world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. Material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. What is highest in the material world is the lowest in the spiritual world. And the highest pleasure in the material world is sex life. But in spiritual life, it is the lowest, it is non-existent. So this relationship between Krishna and the gopis is a non-sexual relationship. It's an intimate, loving relationship, but it's a relationship without sexuality. And it actually symbolizes the relationship between the Jivatma or the spirit soul and the Paramatma or Bhagwan, the relationship between the part and the whole, and the desire for the part to become one with the whole, the desire for the part, the Jivatma, to again acquire union or to reunite to achieve yoga with the whole. Now we see that these gopis, they leave their homes in the middle of the night to reach Krishna. But when this meeting or the so-called Ras dance took place, we must understand that according to all the revealed scriptures, Krishna was pre-pubertal, although artists depict him as a young youth. According to the scripture, Krishna was only 8 years old at the time of the Ras Leela. That means they wanted to emphasize that Krishna was pre-pubertal, there was no question of sex life. And these gopis who came in the middle of the night to meet Lord Krishna, they did not come in their physical forms. In fact, all their physical bodies were locked up in their homes by their husbands, by their fathers, and by their children. But these gopis who came in the middle of the night to associate with 8-year-old Krishna, they came in their spiritual forms to participate in the Ras Leela with Krishna. And Krishna, the 8-year-old boy, when he meets them, he tells them to go back. He says, you've got children yourselves, you've got husbands, you've got families to look after. So you should go back. Don't waste your time with me. And in this way you will find that every devotee of Lord Krishna, at some time or the other, he gets discouraged because Krishna himself discourages him. So Krishna discourages the devotee of Krishna through his wife, or through her husband, or through her children, or through her relatives, or through society, or through his professional colleagues, to discourage him and send him back. Tell him, don't become a devotee of Krishna, you'll become a madman like all these other people. So better go back. So that's actually Krishna discouraging you, just like Krishna discourages all the gopis. But the gopis hold steadfast. They remain firm. And because they remain firm, Krishna, who has tested them and tested their sincerity, he then expands himself to have a separate Krishna for each gopi. Just like every devotee of Lord Krishna will eventually have their own Krishna to participate with in their own intimate and loving relationship. But we should remember that our position is like that of the gopis. We should not try to imitate Krishna. Here we see the story of Shankachuda. So Shankachuda tried to imitate Krishna. So what Shankachuda did, that when this Ras Leela was going on, he came into the forest in the night and he tried to carry off the gopis. And eventually he met with death. The Lord himself delivered death to him. So this happens when we try to imitate Lord Krishna and try to become like God and try to enjoy the gopis. But our position is to become like the gopis and serve the Lord with love and devotion. In fact, this activity of the gopis was much misunderstood until the appearance of somebody who could explain all this to us. And this was in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu incarnated on this earth 500 years ago in the city of Navadvip. He revealed how all of us can actually develop an intense and loving relationship with the Lord, and we can eventually establish an intense loving relationship just like Radharani and the gopis. Because Lord Chaitanya was none other than Krishna himself come in the sentiment of Radharani. In fact, he revealed his form before Ramanand Rai, that he, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was none other than an incarnation of Krishna and Radha. But it's not that he just revealed his form as Krishna and Radha. In the house of Advaita Acharya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also revealed his cosmic and cosmic universal form. As I pointed out, to judge whether he is an incarnation, you should have these following points. First is he incarnated himself, and then he revealed his cosmic universal form to his devotee Advaita Acharya. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also mentioned in the scriptures. He is mentioned in the Chaitanya Upanishad 4,500 years before his appearance. This is appeared in the Atharva Ved. Those of you who want a copy may register, and we'll arrange to get a Xerox copy of this Upanishad for you. So he revealed his cosmic universal form. And just like when the Lord appears, he doesn't appear alone. Just like when Ram appeared, he came with Sita, he came with Lakshman, and he also came with Bharat, Shatrughan, all Hanuman and so many other associates. So also when the Lord appeared, he appeared with the Pancha Tattva. That is, he appeared with his great devotees who appeared along with him. Just like Krishna appeared with Balaram, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also appeared along with Balaram in the form of Nityananda Prabhu. And he incarnated for a specific purpose. As I pointed out, every incarnation of God, he appears for a specific message or mission. And he came to show that God cannot be achieved entirely through the pursuit of knowledge or mental speculation. Here he is seen with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who speaks to him on Vedanta for 7 days and 7 nights. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remains silent through 7 days and 7 nights. And then finally he shows him that you cannot achieve God through knowledge alone, you should achieve God through love. In fact, this has been said in the Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that Naham veder na tapasa na danena na cha ijjaya. You cannot obtain me through knowledge, you cannot obtain me through austerity, you cannot obtain me through charity, nor through rituals. He says bhakti atva ananya shaktya. You can only obtain me through devotion. So here he is seen talking to Prakashanand Saraswati, another famous Advait monk, to explain to him that you should not try to become God, rather you should try to serve God and learn to develop love of God. He also came to defeat the Buddhist philosophers. Of course, the original Buddhists who followed Buddha, no doubt were following the right path. But now you find that the Buddhists have actually gone away from the path of Buddha. Buddha appeared for the specific purpose of teaching people the path of non-violence. But you see that the Buddhists of today are even eating meat. And here we see the Buddhist monk who tried to poison Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by giving him forbidden items. But an eagle comes, that is Garuda comes and picks up the food and drops it on his head. And finally Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he actually arouses this monk and he gives him love of God and makes him chant the holy name of Krishna and actually makes him into a great devotee of the Lord. He also came to show that love of God has got no barriers. And it doesn't matter from which background or which religion or which faith you come from, you can become a great devotee of the Lord. And here he is seen with Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur was born in a Muslim family and therefore he was not accepted by any other Hindu. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually made him Nam Acharya. He made him the authority on the chanting of the holy names of Lord Krishna. He also came basically for showing us through example this unique message or mission that love of God can be obtained simply by chanting His holy name. It has been said in the Srimad Bhagavatam that Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam Sangopangasta Parshadam Yagna Sankirtana Prayer Yajanti Sumedasa. That when Lord Krishna appears, He will appear in a color which is unlike Krishna and He will appear with His devotees and He will incarnate for the specific purpose of showing how congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord can actually help you obtain love of God. And all those who are intelligent in this age will worship this incarnation of God by this method. He also led the first civil disobedience movement in history. In Indian history, of course, we all know about the path of ahimsa and civil disobedience. But the original author of civil disobedience was none other than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. Because when the Muslim Qazi prevented the chanting of the holy name of God in the streets, he led a peaceful procession which surrounded him and convinced him that the Hindu population should be permitted to freely chant the holy names of God. Actually, he is said to be the most munificent incarnation. It is said, Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauret Vishe Nama. That you are the most munificent incarnation because you have given us this unique mercy that simply by chanting the holy name of God, you can acquire knowledge, detachment, and eventually love of God. That it doesn't matter how intelligent you are, or how educated you are, or what background you come from. By the simple process of congregationally, continuously chanting the names of God, you can achieve freedom from the bondage of the material world and you can obtain bliss of spiritual union with God. And in fact, when you chant the name of God, you will realize that you are not this body, but you will realize your identity as spirit soul, and spirit soul who is eternal servant and lover of God. He showed that the power of the holy name was so great that simply by chanting the holy name, he made even the animals in the Jarikhanda forest dance with pleasure. That this holy name is equally effective not only for human beings but also for animals. He showed that by chanting of the holy names of the Lord, you can also acquire control over all your senses, and that the holy name of the Lord is more powerful even than sex desire. Here is Haridas Thakur, and to actually bring Haridas Thakur into disrepute, one Ramchandra Khan, he sends a beautiful prostitute to his cave. And this beautiful prostitute, she stands outside his cave and she exposes her body part by part and tries to seduce Haridas Thakur into having sex with her. But Haridas Thakur, who has taken shelter of the holy name of the Lord, he chants continuously for 3 days and 3 nights. And after chanting continuously for 3 days and 3 nights, this prostitute who comes to tempt him actually herself breaks into tears. And she begins chanting the name of God herself. And finally she goes away and shaves her head. And wearing a single robe, she takes up residence in another cave, where she dedicates her life only to chanting God's names. This is to show how everybody, not only Haridas Thakur, but also you and I, can actually control sex desire simply by the simple process of chanting the holy names of God with love and with devotion. Lord Chaitanya, he also revealed his opulences. For example, he revealed the opulence of strength. Here we see the Rath Yatra cart, which could not be removed by elephants or by wrestlers. But when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and touched his head, the entire cart started moving. This was a demonstration of his opulence of strength. He also performed many miracles, like the healing of the leper Vasudeva, who became whole again. And in this way he demonstrated so many miracles to demonstrate his presence as an avatar. But although so many of his devotees fell at his feet and they accepted him as an incarnation of God, he wanted to show that we should not call ourselves God, but we should call ourselves the servants of God. Because he knew in the future there will be many who will follow him and call themselves God. Therefore he said, don't worship me as God. I have come and I have incarnated for one purpose. And that purpose is to help you to understand, love and worship Lord Krishna. That one must worship Lord Krishna. And that there is no other way to worship God other than by chanting His holy names. It has been mentioned in the Brihad Naradiya Puran. Harer Nam eva kevalam, kalau nasti eva nasti eva nasti eva gatir anyatha. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way to chant the holy name of God to achieve spiritual progress other than by chanting the holy name, chanting the holy name, chanting the holy name. So when you chant the name of God, you will be in touch with the source of all pleasure. And by chanting the holy name of God, you will automatically acquire, without making separate endeavor, spiritual knowledge and detachment from the material world. So the message is chant. It has been mentioned in the Kali Santarana Upanishad that Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Iti Shodha Shakam Nam Nam Kali Kalmashu Nashanam Nata Parataropaya Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate. That in these 16 words, the entire Vedic literature is compressed, that all spiritual knowledge is in these 16 words. And by chanting these 16 words, you will acquire all spiritual knowledge. So the message is chant, chant and chant. So what is